it's painful when you have a patient who needs something and you don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it increases the frustration if you're actually running a research program that has the potential down the road to help them. Makes you want to accelerate things,
Yeah.
and you can't accelerate them beyond a certain speed. You know, it really does take a long time to go through the FDA approval process. I think it's probably a minimum of 3 years from the point at which you show something is really worth translating from your efficacy studies in animal models. If your foot is hard on the accelerator, you know, to get all the tox studies and the manufacturing done and the clinical trial developed and get the FDA approval, minimum 3 years.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's frustrating in that regard, but it's also motivating in that regard. Probably more frustrating is when you do actually have something in clinical testing and you have a patient who's not eligible for the clinical study, because you always have eligibility criteria.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
And you know, somebody has a platelet count that is too low, or liver function tests that are too abnormal, then they're not going to be eligible for the study. And so that can be quite frustrating. Especially if it's a patient of mine who's been asking me every clinic visit for the past 6 years, how's the virotherapy research going, you know? So
yeah. How does having an MD play into that for you? Do you think you're more apt to make those connections and think of the human impact, or is that just something you've been inclined to do because of your research?
I think having the MD for me is, you know, it puts me in touch with the problem that I'm trying to address. I don't think it uniquely motivates me relative to other people.
Okay.
You know, I think everybody, whether they're an MD or a PhD, has a motivation to do what they do. And I would say, you know, pretty much everybody working in our lab has their reasons for why they are committed and motivated to do oncolytic virotherapy research. And they all want it to make a difference. So, you know, the perspective is an important part of my motivation, but it's not a necessary part of a person's motivation.
Literally working to cure cancer, how do you take time off of work? Or how do you turn off your brain? Or is that an impossibility for you?
I don't think I consciously turn it off or on. You know, it roves, but I have not badly neglected my personal sort of family life. I mean, I have had a wonderful family life. I have 4 children who are all now fully grown. I just, you know, I couldn't have asked for more out of life, really. Doing the work that I love to do, and raising a family here. And you know, Rochester is a wonderful place to raise a family. I've just been very blessed. And you know, my wife and I both really enjoyed it here very much. So, and you know, it's not like we've skipped family vacations, and you know, we go skiing, we've been on road trips, we've sort of done the family thing. I may sit in the car reading a book or thinking about something else, but you know, I'm kind of in and out of So, and the family are perfectly okay with me being what I am.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the wonderful things about science, is that you do kind of have the opportunity to do what you want to do at work, and there are very few jobs that give you that ability. You know, to decide what the question is, what the approach is, and how you're going to approach it. And I guess I've been fortunate in that I've always been able to raise the funds to do the things that I like to do. I always tell young scientists and my PhD students, you know, that you have to kind of hold to your path. If you've come into science because of that, then the danger is that you get so far down the road and you discover you can't get grant support to do what you want to do. And so people just start chasing the money. You know, there are pots of money put in various places to attract people into specific areas of research.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I do see quite often people kind of changing direction because there's institutional pressure to have research funding. And then there's the availability of research funding for specific things. And, you know, that's obviously, you know, there comes a point in life where you have to be pragmatic about, you know, your ability to raise money to do what you want to do versus what's available. I always encourage people, if they're going to do academic research, if they're going to, because the pay's relatively low if you're you know, a PhD scientist in academia versus what it could be in industry.
Oh,
so if you stay in academia, I think you've got to try and stick with your dream.
Yeah.